Mr. President, before you speak, I noticed that you were borrowing my copy. And it's appropriate that you have your own copy so that you can advise us on the decisions we must take. So, thank you very much. Thank you.
Minister of Finance, Head of Statistics, South Africa, distinguished guests, what the minister has done is not going to save him from the harsh remarks I'm going to make. It is now a matter of common knowledge that I have said I am going to step down at the end of my term, which I believe will be in May next year. I had assumed that I would disappear under a cloud of glory, but it is quite clear from everything that has happened recently and this morning that many of people I thought would appreciate what I have done as an old man now regard me as already a has-been. This report should have been given to me first and latterly to the minister. I must consider very carefully whether I should hold on until May next year. As a former boxer, I know how to hold on. But I'll have to consider very carefully whether I should do so or step down today. When we embarked 4 years ago along the path of peace, unity and freedom, our central mission as a nation was to build a better life for all South Africans. In deciding to hold a national census in 1996, 5 years earlier than might have been expected, we were acting upon our urgent need for accurate information so that our plans should be based on the real situation. A census, under any circumstances, is a mammoth undertaking. To organize a unified national census in just 1 year instead of the usual 3 years, in a country only beginning to emerge from a system that fragmented every aspect of social and political life, was a major feat in the transformation of our institutions. The census itself was one of the defining milestones in the building of our new nation. Census 96 and its army of 100,000 enumerators marked a break with our divided past. By reaching every part of the country, by using the same methods for everyone, and by ensuring that as far as possible, everyone was asked for information in their own language, we should take this opportunity to say to all those men and women who made it happen, congratulations to you all. At the end of the day, we have detailed, all-inclusive information about our people, which we can use to achieve our shared goals. In breaking new ground, and so early in our transition, the census had to deal with many difficulties, and much had to be learned. It is in keeping with the spirit of openness of our democracy and the early need for information that preliminary estimates were for the first time shared with the public. And it is also in the nature of such information that it might need a revision, as indeed proved to be the case. No doubt the next census will be still more accurate, building on the gains of Census 96. But we do at last have results with which we can work, numbers that count for the nation. It will take time to absorb the full detail of this intricate picture of our complex society. But the broad outlines should act as the clarion call to rededicate ourselves in every sector of our society to the historic mission of a generation charged with transforming South African society in order to eradicate the poverty and imbalances that derive from our past. They show a society in which the lines between rich and poor were, with legal qualification, the historical lines of a racially divided society. They show a society which had enormous basic needs to be met, whether it be in terms of access to clean water, electricity, telephones, or schooling. By measuring the extent of deprivation in October 1996, the results provide us with benchmarks against which our performance as a government and nation should be measured year by year. This picture was drawn midway through our country's first democratically elected government, when the programs of socio-economic change were only beginning to gather pace. We are right to take pride in the fact that in the 2 years since then, the character of our society has been changing day by day through an active partnership of government, communities, and the structures of civil society, including the private sector. The installation since then of some 750,000 telephones, the connection of about 1 million houses to the electricity grid, and the supply of clean water to another 1.8 million people do all improve the situation. But the scale of inherited social inequality and deprivation, confirmed by the results, makes our task one of many years, and one in which reconstruction and reconciliation, nation building and development are all of critical importance. The results remind us that we have only started along the path towards that goal, which was at the heart of our nation's founding consensus, namely to overcome together the legacy of our divided past. May the publication of the portrait of our nation strengthen our commitment to building a democracy that is worth the name, a society in which the needs of all South Africans, and especially the poor, are at the heart of the nation's efforts. There are remarks which I have been making wherever I go in the recent past. And I think it's important for me to make those remarks here. Many people have tried to assess the performance of my government. And in doing so, they have times used standards far more severe than they applied to the apartheid regime and its Bantustans, forgetting that there is a fundamental difference between the governments of this country that preceded 1994 and the present government. Not a single individual here can stand up and contest the claim that in the 346 years of white rule in this country, no government has delivered services such as we have done during the last 4 years. Unless one thinks in terms of a white minority of less than 14% of the population. But if you think about the entire country, there is no government which can compare with what we have achieved. But the fundamental difference which ought to be taken into account is that all previous governments, the incumbents, were trained in governance. They were able to go to school, universities, technicals, teacher training institutions, and acquire knowledge, skills, and expertise. So they are proficient